good news this morning. One, there's no fines, there's no badges, so we don't have the tour, but we do have Amy will be introduced in just a few minutes. We're glad to have you with us. I have heard from Richard Tucker. In fact, he called me at 5 o'clock this morning to tell everybody hello. I've received some emails and texts from both of them, and I'll tell you it's embarrassing what they're into, and I'll report the next time. So they will certainly be involved in some fines. So anyway, all the news this morning, nothing else unless someone else, we don't have any additional guests, we just have a small number because of being off campus. Okay, Don, it's all yours.
Okay. Where is Richard?
He's in Marseille right now.
Okay.
He was at lunch, and they were trying to, they had a picture of Gay, and they had been at Gibraltar with the monkeys that try to get into the cable car. And so he had accused Gay of trying to call Bob the monkey, so I don't know what's going on, but it's pretty wild over there.
We need to keep our brother in our prayers. Kenny Clance, his son, he had surgery yesterday. Serious business.
I saw him in the hospital.
You did?
I did. I was there visiting someone else, and Kenny caught me coming down the hallway. I don't know how the surgery went, but
he said it went pretty well. He said he was in a whole lot less pain. I don't want to say whatever the ailment is because I really don't want to go into any details, and so let him share all of that with you, but I did tell him that we would be praying for him and he would be on our hearts and our love. And so that's what Kenny. The other thing is that we have a dance coming up in about not quite 2 months now, just about 2 months. And I've been told that tickets are not going well. Do I need to produce the list of jobs so that everybody who has a job jump on their job? I'm trying not to do that, but if I have to, I can. Is there consensus? Should I publish the jobs or not?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Doesn't do any harm.
Yeah.
Okay, I will publish the jobs. Also, whatever these avenues that we have been doing, I've been the sorriest ticket seller I ever know. And so I'm going to encourage you to do something that I haven't been able to do. And that's sell some tickets and some ads, and let's get the show on the road. As of right now, we're in debt. And so if we want to get out of debt and make money, we as a club got to get on our high horses and get her done. Okay?
And I have the tickets.
And he has an account, and I think he's still at 300 tickets.
Well, I have 200 now.
Oh, so you sold 2?
No, Bob took 100.
I have those, I think, while he's away, I have them, so if you can't reach Rick and leave tickets, I've got some.
Okay.
Oh, I thought those were 100 that were sold.
It could have been.
Oh.
I like to make a joke if I can. I just don't have that 100. Whatever happened to them.
You who are savvy on social media, yes sir, stick it out there. Share it with your friends. Share it with my social media as well. And I will turn around and spread it.
I'll put it on Facebook.
As
Isaac and I have made the clubs, I've given out our posters and our save the date cards. So the clubs out there west of us have them.
Okay.
It is fairly, purely from a ticket sales point of view, it is fairly early days. Is it not? I mean, a lot of people don't buy their tickets 2 months out.
Not that far up.
Right, right.
So it's hard to judge. Certainly would be
Yeah.
nice to have more sold, but it's kind of hard to judge how things are going, I guess.
and I'd keep pushing the ads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
tickets are going to be tougher to sell further out, no question. I mean, Brews and Blues is that weekend too, and I haven't sold one ticket for it. You know, but we've got tons of sponsorship because that's where we've been focusing. Although I have the tickets printed, just like, I mean, the ads are the way to go. You get $250 for an ad.
That's a lot of tickets.
And that's what I'm asking when I ask. and I've only been able to get one, and that was me. But I'm working on it. That's what I'm going for, anyway.
Yeah, print that, send that list of jobs. Now, are there people designated as
There's
ticket
people-
sellers?
No, we all are ticket sellers.
Right, okay,
We all are ticket sellers, but we had other jobs that were supposed to come alongside,
okay.
and make certain that they are not the horses of the dance. That, you know,
Okay.
every job had a weightlifter.
He wants to distribute the heavy lifting.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, anybody else know of any other, unfinished business?
Well, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
In the bulletin here, it says, the 5th is to be announced.
That's from that.
Do we have any program for that day?
The 5th of
September.
September.
It says on the front, it says that's a club assembly, but,
It says
But we've got-
12th club assembly on the schedule.
That was Scott Owens' date,
Mhm.
right? And so that's why I think it's to be announced, because we're not sure if Scott is still on the list, he gets all the information. I've not been able to speak to him about whether he's gonna do a program or not, and,
I can ask him, but I would think that he's
Yeah.
probably not.
and people have asked, does anybody have a program? Because
I have
I might,
a prospective one who is also, I think, interested in joining the Rotary.
okay,
that takes priority for sure. I have one but I'm not sure, I'd have to check on the date for this person, but she's
Okay.
expressed interest in doing one.
Can they, go ahead.
Jim, you think your program could be here next Wednesday?
He told me yesterday, just let him know when.
Okay, can we right now make that decision that,
Okay.
that he's the person? Anybody got a problem with that?
What is the program?
Well, we'd have to
Whatever.
check
Uh,
his thought.
Scott
Gavin could-
Norman, Foot Solutions.
Gavin could take the 19th, couldn't he?
Actually, I'm on for the 19th.
Well, you've got the
It
19th?
doesn't say it.
That was my
Well,
day.
Austin
That's right.
and Phil's
Right.
traded.
So TBA is badass, isn't it?
That's right, that's it.
I like that. Totally stealing that. You get you a button.
Tell you what, Gavin, take the 26th.
But that's got Bob Reinhardt.
I know, but I'm likely to be traveling on governor's duty.
I'm not gonna try and push him out of
I'm putting Gavin down for the 26th, whether he likes it or not.
Thank you.
I'm gonna text Scott Owens.
Okay, all right.
All right, I'll confirm.
Okay, we
that.
got you for the 5th? Okay,
Unless
But
Scott,
you also got October
Yeah,
10th,
okay,
and we can get somebody else back if you
okay,
want.
Starkey?
Yeah, I'll switch to the 26th. If I can find something for the 10th, I'll do it, but I'm down to that.
Yeah, if Scott answers Austin's text, says he's gonna do something, then we'd have to drop back and find.
I'll let Jim know immediately.
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
let y'all know immediately.
That's cool.
I really, honestly, I've talked to him several times, and I mean, I doubt very seriously this is anywhere in
Not in
the
this
forefront of
wheelhouse.
his mind right
the
now,
school
Not a
just,
problem.
that he even is responsible for it.
the
to be
school
honest
just
with you.
cranking up good.
Yeah. Okay, so on the 12th, what do we got on the 12th?
That's club assembly.
Okay, the 19th?
Me,
Bill? 26th, Bob, you still good?
Gavin.
Gonna do that.
Okay. Secretary, you getting all this down?
Yeah, I'm getting into it.
Okay, good. Okay, that'll hold us
Okay.
for a month. We don't need to try to push it out any further than that. Okay. Any other unfinished business? One thing that's out there, Rick's been sending, Doc's been sending a lot of emails around about the change of time. I think we have to go back to the 7 o'clock time. I don't think there's any, so our time will be 7 o'clock till about 7:50. All that hadn't happened between 7 o'clock and 7:50, we'll wait till the next time, or you do it in the street or the parking lot somewhere.
So why do we have to go back?
Because
Their class
there's
is
a
class
class
is
8 o'clock,
scheduled.
8.
They're using the room.
And, well, they don't charge us for the room.
Well, I get that, but they, okay. All right.
It's a large class that's coming in,
Okay.
and, so they were all lined up, ready to come in.
Let me
last
ask you
meeting.
something. Is Lenore Ryan central to all of where most of us live?
I don't know where most of them live.
Not me, but I
It's
think a lot-
convenient for me.
Okay.
Let's
It's
table that
convenient,
discussion.
it's
Let's get the
convenient
program.
for
We'll
us
solve that
as a
in the
club.
program.
I think it's probably convenient for more people than most locations.
Yes.
There's a lot of people.
Plus, visitors will know where Lenore Ryan is.
Yes,
It's a
Yeah.
long way for me,
Well,
absolutely.
so I think we should move.
And we have a nice facility.
Somewhere.
Okay. On another day, we'll talk about that. Are you gonna stay in this building, or are you moving to the new building?
Well, no, I'm here for as long as I'm here.
Okay. As long as you know you. Okay.
One thing,
Yes, sir.
we still need to find, if we can, some candidates for the Rotary Youth Leadership Award Academy.
Okay.
Right.
Can we save the business for after the program?
Yep.
Please.
Okay, we're gonna go on right now with our guests, and I believe that I'm gonna have my brother Austin, who's in charge of the fifth truth.
Well, yeah, thanks. So this is Amy McCauley, and I met her when she was working with the health department. She helped start a cooking class that was picked up by the American Heart Association for 3 years just recently. It was called Dining on a Dime. And we partnered with the Solmez Institute, and it was very exciting. I think the Cooperative Extension was involved, and a lot of things have spawned out of that. Very pleased to introduce Amy. She now works for the county as their Communications and Marketing Director. So if you would join me in welcoming Amy to our club, please. Welcome.
I feel a little silly standing up, so if it's okay keeping this a little
Oh,
less formal, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
You can see we're not very.
Yeah, we're not very formal.
I figured, yeah,
Won't be the
so.
silliest.
So I'm here today just to talk a little bit about what we're doing as a county to help tell our story as a community. I think we all have reasons for why we're here and why we love living here and why we love being in Catawba County. And I think that over the last 10 years or so, we've had some pretty rough times in our community. And we are joining efforts with a lot of our community partners to help tell that better story about our community. Instead of defaulting back to, well, we used to be furniture and we used to have all these jobs, we're really trying to help change that story and talk about what we do have and who we are and where we're going. So really my job is oriented around helping tell that story and helping make connections with people who can tell that story about our community, because we really want to make sure for folks that live here that we're seeing that optimism, and then for folks that are considering moving here to fill jobs or raise a family, that they see our community as an inviting place to be. So one of the things that we've done is we've launched a new brand initiative to help get the message out about our community, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. The brand initiative is in line with our Commissioner's strategic plan, and I sent one of these around earlier, so you can see all the elements of our Commissioner's strategic plan. About 2 years ago, they started looking at data that showed that our working age population was not going to grow over the next 15 to 20 years. It was actually going to get smaller. And they decided that they wanted to take some steps to start building a foundation to help prevent that working age population loss and help build that up. So they've taken some steps within their sphere of influence to help do things to help drive the economy and to help enhance quality of life through things like economic development and parks and other strategies that they're focused on to try to help drive that growth for our community and help ensure that we have a strong working age population well into the future that can fill the jobs we need filled now and also fill those future jobs that we're continuing to try to bring to our community. So that's kind of the tenets of the strategic plan are here. I won't go into a lot of detail on those, but if you have any questions about those, I'm happy to answer them too. So marketing and this brand initiative is really part of that strategic plan, because we felt it was really important for the county to do its part in helping tell a story about our community and telling a great story about our community. So we've gone into branding, and this is very new for us as a county. We've not done branding before. I know most of you are probably very familiar with Hickory's Life Well Crafted initiative. That's going on about 7 or 8 years now, and that again was a similar effort to try to help tell the story of Hickory in a way that built some appeal for the city and help make a name for the city. So we've kind of entered that arena as well to try to help lift those stories up. So we're really trying to look at the stories all across our community and help lift those up to support those efforts to drive population growth and drive the economy. And we view this as a very collaborative effort as well. You know, Hickory's got a brand like Well Crafted. Newton, you may have seen, has just recently launched a brand. Brilliant Legacy, Bright Future is the theme of their brand. Our goal is not to overshadow those in any way. Our goal is to help lift those up and tell those stories too. So that's kind of our aim. We knew that if we were going to tell the story about our community, we needed to learn a lot about our community. Because I can tell a story about our community, but it's going to be different from the story Austin's going to tell, and it's going to be different from the story Mr. Van Dette's going to tell. So we really wanted to hear about our community from people who are living here and understand what they see as the assets in our community. So we brought in a consulting firm, a third-party, very objective group to come in and do some research for us to learn about what our assets are from the people who live here. We also talked to people in Charlotte and in Asheville because we were curious to see, well, what do people outside our community think about Catawba County? And these are some of the things that came out of that research that were recognized as some of our assets. And I'm sure you will probably all look at this list and say, well, we knew that, right? I mean, that's the best thing about research, when it validates what you think you already know. But these are things that they said, you know, these are the things that are really standing out. When we talk about our community, whether we're living here or people outside of here are talking about us, these are the things that continually come up as assets for who we are. So from all of these assets, we worked with this firm to kind of help crystallize an identity for our community. How do we start telling our story? How do we frame that story in a way that really matches what those assets are? So they came up with something that they called our brand DNA, and this is really just a foundational statement. We're not using this in any marketing materials or anything, but it's just a way for us to start thinking about how people talked about our community and crystallize that in some way. So for makers and doers who want to shape their community and their lives, Catawba County, northwest of Charlotte and surrounded by water, has turned a skill and passion for making things toward making a difference, by transforming possibility to prosperity in both the built environment and the individual. I think what they heard and what they saw when they came to visit our community was how much we all work together, that spirit of collaboration that's been part of our history for decades, and that we're also continually trying to make things better. We're continually trying to improve and find solutions. We're not just allowing ourselves to just let things happen as they may. We're all taking action to make a difference in our community. They felt that really resonated very strongly. So from that, we developed a theme for telling our story. And the theme for the county's story is making living better. And again, that really points back to that idea of collaboration and that idea of everyone working together to find solutions and make things better in our community and to recover from some of the hard things that we've been through. We love this as well, because who wouldn't want to talk about how their community is making living better? I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of stories about people and organizations that are doing things every day to help make our community a great place and to help support those efforts. So from a storytelling standpoint, this is a great story to be able to tell. We also like the idea that we can talk about each of these components of making living better. Making is such a big part of our community, the manufacturing, the craftsmanship, so there's a lot to tell there. living, our quality of life. One of the things that the research pointed out was that for a community our size, to have all the amenities that we have for culture and arts and the outdoors, we're really fortunate to have as much as we do for a community our size. So again, lots of great stories to tell about that. And then Better really points to the collaboration in our community and the revitalization and the efforts to come together and make improvements in our community, that optimistic spirit. So making living better is our theme. And then this is kind of how it all comes together for us. You know, when we talk about a brand, the first thing people think of is a logo. So this is the icon that we are also using to help tell our story. And the really neat thing about this logo is that it does kind of do a lot of work for us. The outer ring is meant to resemble a gear, which again kind of points to our manufacturing legacy and what we're known for, our work ethic. But the inner circle also represents a gear, because for collaboration to happen, you really need two gears working together to drive things forward. So it really stands for that idea of working together and collaborating. And then the inner image represents kind of quality of life. It's a placemaking for us. It's the foothills. It's the Catawba River. But that foothill is actually an outline of Baker's Mountain. So it actually does belong to us. There will be no one that can have a logo like this, right? Yeah.
I didn't mean that.
So, you know, Baker's Mountain's iconic. It's our highest peak in the county. So it really does kind of create not just a sense of place, but I hope it also creates a little bit of point of pride for residents when they see that, because they can see us in that logo. But I like to say that really branding is not about a logo. It's really about what you do with that logo and how you tell your story. The icon is something that we hope people will see and remember a great story they heard about Catawba County. They'll see it and it will remind them of Catawba County and the good things they heard about who we are. So how are we telling that story? We are, of course, trying to make sure that people do see that logo. And I would not expect that someone in Bangor, Maine would see this and say, that's Baker's Mountain, and that's the Catawba River, and that's collaboration. But again, we hope they do see it at some point and say, that belongs to that really interesting place in North Carolina called Catawba County, and I want to learn more about it. So we are really focused more, not just on getting that logo out there, but also on that visceral connection with the brand, that idea that this brand, this idea of making living better, tells my story as a resident in Catawba County, and how do I connect with that idea? So we're really focused on first-person storytelling. You know, my job is to help tell the story of our community, but I always joke that, you know, who's really going to believe it from me? Because I'm the marketing director and I get paid to do this, so, you know, I'm going to say great things, right? But, you know, what if someone could hear Austin's story? You know, what if someone could hear another resident's story about what they love about the community and how living here has given them an opportunity to do something really amazing and unique? So we're really trying to unearth those stories and help bring those stories into our conversation about our community. We're very focused. We just launched the brand in January, so it's an infant. I mean, we were just rolling it out. It takes a long time to get awareness built around this idea. So we're really focused right now on internal connections, talking with folks who live here in our community about this story and finding ways that they connect with this story. So that's really our big focus. And for two reasons. One, you know, obviously we want to make sure that the brand does resonate with people who live here. But we also know that word of mouth is the most important and valuable way to learn about things. So if we can encourage the folks who live here to tell great stories about Catawba County and why they love it, that will really help overall all of our efforts to help promote our community. We are also looking at telling our story outside our community too, because one of our commissioner's goals is to look at how can we grow our working age population. So how can we create ways to tell this story outside of our community that will get people interested in coming here to live, work, and raise a family. I mentioned earlier that our efforts are really collaborative. We are all about partnership, and we are all about a shared story. So it's really not about this logo, and it's not even really about making sure that this logo and making living better in Catawba County or what people see. It's really about making sure that we're all telling a really positive, great story about our community. So I mentioned first-person storytelling. Again, this is really about trying to tap folks who live here and share their stories so that that word of mouth can start to build, that buzz can start to build around this really interesting place and all these interesting people who live here. So one of the first ways we started doing this was through social media. It's probably one of the easiest ways to do it. But we created some hashtags, Making Living Better and My Catawba County. And we are encouraging folks to tell their great story when they're sharing something really amazing about what they've done in Catawba County, an amazing experience they had. We're encouraging them to hashtag it so that that story can continue to build on social media. And we can see all these different interpretations in that world about what my Catawba County looks like and what Making Living Better looks like in our community. We're also really working hard on an initiative that we're calling Featured Catawbans. And this is really where our first-person storytelling kind of takes off for us. We are talking to lots of different people in the community who have great stories to tell. We're interviewing them. We're putting their interviews on our website. And we're doing them in a Q&A format. So their words, the interviews are actually, the stories about them are in their own words. So it's not my interpretation of what they told me with a quote from them in the middle of a paragraph that I wrote. These stories are really their words and their responses to questions about who they are and what they do and what they love about being here. So that's the first step of some of our storytelling work. We're also taking those stories to the airwaves. So we have a Making Living Better half-hour episode on WHKY with Hal Rowe on the first Wednesday of every month from 8:30 to 9. And each month we invite one of our storytellers to come and tell their story. And Hal just interviews them about who they are and what they do and why they love living here. And then we take those programs and we repackage them into podcasts. And we push those podcasts out all over the place. And those podcasts are available from anywhere in the country through iTunes and other places where most people find their podcasts. So this is a fun way, again, for us to not just be telling our story, but to tell that story in the words of people who actually live here. And then this is the one that just, it's live now, it just aired. Marietta is a stained glass architect. She has a shop in Newton on the Square. She's also involved in community theater. She's a mom. She was at Mrs. North Carolina. Just really interesting background and story that you might never know about someone who lives in our community. We've also just launched something on our website that we're calling our brand portal. And you can get there from makinglivingbetter.com and mycatawbacounty.com. This is where those stories reside online, so all of our featured Catawbans profiles are on there. We have about 15 profiles so far, and we're always looking for more. And in addition, we've really taken a deep dive into what making looks like in our community, and what living looks like, and what better looks like. And the foundation of this, and I can pass these around, this is more information about that portal. I encourage you to check it out when you have some time, because we really wanted to create something that could be a one-stop shop, I guess you could call it, to learn about the character of our community and to learn about the people who live here and the great things that are happening here. This isn't an events calendar. It's not a directory of resources that you might need to know for moving here. It's really a way to tell the story about what it's like to live here. What does education look like in our community? What does making mean for us? What do careers look like here? So it's meant to kind of be a place for people to learn about what it's like to live in Catawba County and what it means to be making living better here. It's also going to serve as the foundation for something we're calling a talent attraction guide. We're working with the Chamber of Commerce. They have wanted to produce something like this for a while to help support efforts to recruit folks to come work in our community. So the story that we're telling on this portal is going to kind of translate into a guide that can be distributed to people, that recruiters can use when they're looking to hire people and fill jobs, to help tell a more comprehensive more meaningful story about our community versus just, well, we have 3 school systems and here's how you can hook up your cable. So we're hoping that people might get a better picture of who we are from this portal and the efforts that will stem from this portal. So I went through a lot of this very, very fast, but we are really busy looking for great stories to tell. And we love recommendations, so if you know folks that you think we need to know, we would love to know them. My contact information is here. I also have cards with me today. I'll make sure to leave some. But we are really enjoying working on this and finding really unique and interesting ways to talk about our community. So if you have suggestions or ideas, or again, if you know someone that we need to know, I would love to hear from you. Anything I can answer for you right now? Any questions?
Silly question, but looking at the breakdown of the logos,
Yeah.
on the bottom where it says 2 gears, I think that probably made John Teeter real happy with it.
I know. A lot of people have said that this reminds them of the Pepsi logo.
Yeah.
You know, there's the old school one that has kind of the bottle cap shape to it. But you know, I always say that well, first of all, it's great to be compared to one of the most iconic brands of all time, right? But you know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. People see a lot of different things in this logo, which has been a really it's interesting to hear all that feedback. And we've also had a lot of people say, you know, I'm not crazy about that. I really, you know, I don't like that a whole lot. And that's okay, because as long as it's doing for us what it needs to do for us, then it's a good thing. You know, then it's working. You know, it could be a pink unicorn. You know, but as long as that pink unicorn is doing for us what it needs to do, as long as it's reminding people of Catawba County and who we are and what we're about, then it's doing what it needs to do for us. So. But if you really love it, I have car stickers too.
You may want to talk to the Killian family that has the Killian Lawn and Garden.
Yeah.
The patriarch of that family has walked the Catawba River his whole life, and he's raised his kids and he's raised his grandkids, and he has one on the river, and he has one of the most interesting collection of Amerindian artifacts that you've ever seen. And they only show it once a year.
Not to mention a train and
Yeah,
plane,
airplane.
all kinds of other stuff. He's definitely someone that
Has a story. He's got a story.
That's great. Thank you.
So you mentioned your collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Is the Convention and Visitors Bureau plugged in as well?
They are. They are. We're collaborating. Our primary collaborators, at least for the launch of all of this, have been the Chamber, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Economic Development Corporation, all of our municipalities, our schools. You know, we realize that we're all wanting to tell our story, and we all have very unique and different stories to tell, particularly when we talk about our municipalities. So we feel like our role is, how can we learn more about all those stories and help lift those up and make sure that partners like the Chamber and the EDC and the Convention and Visitors Bureau are connected to that. We're partnering with the Chamber, as I mentioned, on that attraction guide. We're also partnering with them on their 2nd edition of MAH magazine. There will be some storytelling components to that, so that that magazine is distributed to middle schoolers and high schoolers in our community. And we're profiling some people who have really interesting jobs in our community so that they can see a future here after they graduate from school. We're also, we've contributed to a new destination guide that the Convention and Visitors Bureau has developed. We are working with our cities to identify folks to help tell their stories. So we really are trying to find ways to help make sure there's connections. We're also working with the EDC to make sure they have the tools they need to tell the story about living here. They're very focused on, you know, the requirements that a company might have to move here. What about how they can tell their story about what those employees can experience when they come here? And the EDC already does a great job of that, but how can we help enhance that too? So we're looking at a lot of different ways to do that.
What about Bob Hart Square? Is that plugged into this? That's a great story.
It is, and Rebecca Hart is actually on
Yes,
our
I know
list
Becky.
as a featured Catawba. We just haven't gotten to her yet. But that is a fantastic story about what they've done with Hart Square.
they're
But
still
also,
doing it too.
right, I
They've
know
got
there's
some
so much
things they're
happening
gonna
there,
open up.
and you know, for her to kind of be carrying on that family legacy, we just think that's a neat point of view on that too. So thank you. Yeah, that is a big part of it. Yeah, and we're really trying to figure out, a lot of times when we tell stories about our community, we go to the same folks. We ask the same folks to come and talk about whatever they've got going on in our community. We're really trying to find just people, not that designated person to talk about X, but really just someone who has an amazing life and is living here.
Have you got the Red Cross chapter on board for presenting something?
To the chapter?
No, the chapter itself. Not many people realize our disaster response team, that team,
Right.
set the standard for how the Burke County tornadoes were handled, and that became how they handled the East Coast when they had their hurricane damage.
That's great.
And what was Catawba County Chapter Red Cross is now manifest for 11 counties? Anyhow, it's been expanded. The scope of responsibility for that chapter is pretty exciting.
That's great. Thank you.
I like the fact that the county's being proactive. The event that the chamber puts on, bringing military families in,
Yes.
that's pretty unique. I'm not sure other communities or counties do. I know individual businesses will go to the military bases
Right.
to recruit, but to have a county go and try to bring people in, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and they've got their third event coming up this fall, which is amazing that they've done 3 events in 2 years essentially to bring in veterans to fill jobs. One of our very first featured Catawbans was one of the veterans from the first program that came in and got a job at CommScope, and he's actually going to be on WHKY next month. He'll be the featured Catawban next month to coincide with the event that's happening in October for veterans.
Anybody talking to anybody in the Ridgeview community?
Yes, we are, but we would love to meet more people in Ridgeview. We've talked with David Williams, who's putting us in touch with folks, but if you have other folks that we need
I think the
to meet,
story
that'd
of
be
the
great.
Ridgeview Panthers is worth being
Yeah.
told.
Yeah, is
I
Richard
noticed
Eller on your
not-
team?
Not much of your literature shows people of color either. I think that's, people need to know that as well.
Yeah, we really did try to have an eye for diversity for this. We wanted to show some of our featured Catawbans, and we only have a handful of them so far. So the more folks we can make connections with, the
Sure.
better. So.
Professor Richard Eller would be your contact.
Okay, great, thank you.
Well, he is on this campus.
Yes, I
What-
know.
What have you got coming in from the Hmong community?
Well, we're talking with some different Hmong folks about telling their story.
Not many people realize between Morganton and Taylorsville, there's 144,000 Hmong.
Right.
And it's the second or third largest Hmong community in the country.
I
Yes.
think Catawba County is the largest in the state
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
for the Hmong community.
This area, probably our MSA, because I think it goes up in Caldwell too.
Speak of Susan Williams. I think that's the name, Susan Williams of Hmong community.
Who is that?
I think that, isn't she not a, on the board, with the county? She ran for office.
Talking about Charlotte.
Charlotte
Thank
Williams.
you.
Oh, Charlotte.
She's not-
Yeah, she's on
Charlotte's
Hickory
not
City
Hmong.
Council.
She's of nationality.
You're Japanese.
Okay.
Actually, Goya, Mao, who works in my office,
Okay.
is Hmong.
Goya.
It has a very
Goya Mao,
interesting story.
Yeah, I was looking at
Thank
release
you.
to staff in this magazine, and I was gonna reach out to you about that too. Lucy she works for Goodwill, and
Right.
she's one of our featured Catawbans, and she actually did, our WHKY, we have a podcast for her. And she told a really great story about, caravanning with a large number of families from California to come to North Carolina and the like. So it was just wonderful to hear that perspective from someone who's a young working professional in the community and how much she appreciates that heritage, in addition to what her experience is like here in our county. So.
You mentioned something about bright future.
Yes.
Do you have that patented? Is that a?
So Newton, the city of Newton, has developed a brand theme to tell their story, and their theme is Brilliant Legacy, Bright Future. So they are working on telling a story about their history and how that history is pointing them toward more growth in their community.
Because
So,
Hickory Bright Futures is the name of an organization that serves mentally and physically challenged adults.
mhm.
Now, this logo does not replace the seal, right?
That's correct.
Good.
So the seal is sacred, really. I mean, it's the official seal of government business. So we're preserving it for that. We didn't, you know, when you talk about marketing and you're putting a message out there about your community, we didn't want to use the seal. We wanted to make sure that the seal wasn't something
Reminds
that.
me of things that I might not want to get in the mail.
Right, true, that's true. We really wanted to ensure that it stayed relevant for official government business and that it didn't become a marketing tool, so to speak, that might then become outdated at some point because we really want that seal represents a big history for us, so.
So I'm thinking, we talk about the Hmongs, former House of Nom Nom, now Bubbles.
Yeah, they changed their menu, I'm not happy.
Right. Is that a Hmong family?
I don't think so.
Vietnamese.
Yeah, I think they're Vietnamese or Laotian or from that area.
They might be interesting folks to talk. They certainly were quite.
Entrepreneurial.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Hardworking.
Hardworking.
Same family
Whole
members there
family.
every day.
I thought about it when you mentioned the caravan story because I remember hearing that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
They might have an interesting story
I'm
to
sure
tell.
they would. That's
Not to
great.
belabor a sore point, but they could be Vietnamese and Hmong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Hmong's an ethnic group.
Right.
Actually came out of China.
And they say some of the food there is Korean, so. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean?
It's good eating
We're not
anyway.
That's right.
Right.
What place is this?
It's called the House of Nom Nom.
Well, it was.
Well, they changed it.
Yeah, they changed it.
Where is
It's on the corner. It's where the Wild Walk is near the mall. It's where there used to be a Quiznos in there.
Well,
Yeah,
Thing
it's
about
kind
the mooses.
of catty corner across from the theater.
Okay.
So thank you all very much. I appreciate the feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming and sharing with us.
Let Gavin get his camera working here.
This bio says that you were in Hickory Sunrise, a former member of Hickory
No.
Sunrise, were you?
No,
Well, that's,
Ron Leach.
Oh, Ron's gonna get it.
We'll have a discussion based on that.
Oh, yeah.
because I was gonna say I hadn't seen you as part of Hickory Sunrise.
Maybe it's my twin.
You know, but what I was going to say is that, you know, we need your experience just to prove that you were, you know, you need to rejoin, you know what I mean? So that we'd have some proof. But we do have a little gift for you, made by our very own Wayne.
Oh, wow.
That's some very nice wood, a nice coaster. I want to say thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. Thank you.
It'll be,
It has, I like that chair.
You've got this several points. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Of the things we think,
Say
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
no, and
Is it fun?